All right, we are live with Mr. Slide Job, Bruce Apocalypse joining me as well up here in the booth.
Hey there,
Going to do a
guys.
little
How's it going?
post-race interview. Yes, sir, from mid-Ohio. Mr. Slide Job finishing up 13th, starting out 14th, avoiding a huge wreck at the start of the race. Mr. Slide Job, how do you think your race went at mid-Ohio just a few days ago?
I gotta say, for me, it was a pretty perfect race. We didn't get involved in any accidents. We didn't really make contact with very many cars. We stayed on the racetrack, didn't put one tire in the grass. We ran pretty consistent laps. We saved the amount of fuel we needed to make it a two-stop race. We didn't spin ourselves or make any mistakes on and off pit road, so pretty much it was a dream race for us. Other than winning on it, obviously, it was pretty much as clean as we could get.
Yeah, I know in our last interview you said you were really looking forward to the race and you thought you definitely had a chance there. And, you know, it's not always about getting in first. You know, having a clean race like that, especially at a road course, is definitely a big deal. And that's something that, owners and prospects are looking for when they're looking at drivers because they don't want to see a bunch of, slamming off the track or stuff like that, like we did see with a couple of the other racers. But you did a great job of saving some fuel. There were a lot of issues on pit road with some of the other drivers. You know, how did you avoid like the wreck at the start and everything? And do you think, maybe next week you've got a better chance than this week? Or when we're looking next week, what do you think? I forgot where you guys are going in the truck series.
Martinsville.
You'll adore Martinsville. That's right.
Ooh, Martinsville.
So,
That'll be a fun race.
Yeah,
yeah, how do you
absolutely.
think, going into next week for Martinsville? What are your ambitions for next week?
Well, going back to your first question, so we managed our race. We didn't really pay much attention to other people's races, and that's really kind of what you have to do at a road course. We knew that some of those guys up front were just going to be way faster than us, and what I didn't realize was how they were saving fuel and running those fast laps by short shifting and things like that. So we definitely took some notes for the future on how to get faster and still save fuel. Um, but that was their race, and we were running our race. And then, right at the beginning there, I wanted to be conservative, so I didn't try to force things. I know right in the front of us there was a three wide, and it ended up almost all three cars went in the grass. So we didn't try to be overly aggressive. We didn't try to force anywhere that we didn't think the car belonged. So we were just kind of playing defense, and then it ended up turning out well for us. We finished above a lot of people that seemed like they were racing a little bit too aggressively. But going
Mm.
into this week, I don't think that's going to change either. I think, Martinsville being as tight of a track as it is,
Mm-hmm.
people aren't really going to get away from each other. It's hard to pass, especially if you're on the outside. So obviously track position is going to be a big key to the race. And just taking care of those around you. I plan to try to get to the front from wherever position I am, and just try to take care of the truck. I don't want to ruffle anyone's feathers that might negatively affect me in future races or even further in that race. But I definitely
Mm-hmm.
want to constantly improve. So we didn't have a great finish at Chicagoland, and then we improved upon that last week. So I definitely want to keep setting the bar higher and get our best finish,
Definitely.
because Martinsville's probably my best track, if not tied with Bristol. So
Mm.
I have really high hopes for it. I think we can
Mm-hmm.
at least qualify in the top 10 and then move on from there. So it's really going to be a combination too, because it's going to be offense and defense, because there's going to be guys behind me. They're going to try to get around me, and then I'm going to have to try to wedge some people off the bottom. So, but I'm not afraid to use the bumper, but I'm going to be smart about it and not overly aggressive and ruin somebody's day or my own. So
Definitely. Well, it's always, different, especially at the short tracks. You're not going to have as much room to draft with the car behind or in front of you, so you're not going to be able to rely on that as much. When it comes to setting or trying to get your fastest lap, do you find it easier if you just run alone and try to find your best groove at a short track, or do you run more online and try to see, maybe what some other drivers are doing, or, is it better to run with the pack and get more of a sense of how it's going to be next week?
So it's interesting, like, my dream situation is if I get somebody in front of me that's like a second or two out, and they might be a little bit faster, a little bit slower, but I have a truck to chase. For me, if I'm focusing on a truck in front of me and not where my truck is, my hands can do the work and I can run the best laps that I can run. If I'm trying to focus on me and I'm all alone, I can still run fast laps, but I tend to be just a tiny bit slower because I'm not focused on trying to catch somebody. But as far as a pack, you're definitely not going to run fast laps there. So at least from a qualifying perspective, the bunch of guys that jump out right away when the timer starts, I honestly don't think they're going to get good laps. They're going to be running into each other. They're going to be taking each other's lines away. And even in the race, everyone's going to be on the bottom. No one's going to want to be on the top. So everyone's going to be fighting for that spot. So, it's going to come down to A, the driver, and your skill at that point, but B, it's going to come down to patience. Patience is going to be huge. I consider myself to be a short track racer above everything else. And I think what sets me apart from other short track racers is patience. I don't try to win the race on the first lap. I don't try to pass the entire field on a restart. I know I have a fast truck. I always know I have a fast vehicle no matter every time I go to a short track. So it's just about planning your passes, picking off people one by one, and having a long run car too. So
definitely. Well, good luck next week, Bruce Apocalypse. Is there any questions you had for Mr. Slide Job?
Hey, I got one question for you real quick. So when you're going into a new track, like say you're going to Martinsville this weekend, right? What is somebody who is wanting to like run trucks more often with a custom setup? What do they need to be looking for to build a setup from a ground up? 'Cause the problem that I've come across, even with my Cup Martinsville, I don't know what I'm missing. It's almost like there's it's like a weight issue. Now when it comes to the trucks, like how do you differentiate your setups between the series, like between Cups and trucks and Xfinity at Martinsville specifically? I know it's a tricky track. I know it's a tricky track setup-wise. That's why I figured I'd want to ask you that question.
Sure, it is not a easy track by any means, and I would like to believe Martinsville is the pinnacle of the short tracks. And I think the key for your setup is really, at least me personally, I focus on the center. So if you think about it, in the 19 or 20 seconds that you are taking to go around that track, a lot of it is spent rolling through the center of the corner. You're on the gas and off the gas pretty quickly down the straightaway, but it's that rolling through the center that takes up most of your time. So what I try to focus on is I try to focus on making that truck or car roll and carry as much speed as it can through the center. So a lot of that has to do with your front weight, getting that balance correctly, because the more front weight you can run, the more speed you'll carry through the center. But you also need to be able to turn, because the front weight you add, the tighter it's going to get, entering and exiting. So you definitely want to balance how much weight you can do, and making sure you can take care of your entry and exit. But specifically, going from the Cup to the truck, I found there's a lot of similarities, not too many differences, because when I went into this weekend, I right away I had a Cup setup that I used in a World Challenge not too long ago. So I kind of started with that. I put it in the truck and it drove okay. It wasn't crazy, it wasn't loose or anything. So I kind of started there. And the trucks are a little tighter, so I had to account for that. Mainly it was just loosening that setup up and getting the truck to turn. But as far as the front weight goes, it was pretty close on both. But yeah, it's really, you want to have a good exit, and you want to have a good roll through the center. But for me, center is really where it's at.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I figured it'd be a good question for a guy who's pretty experienced building setups out there. So, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
Well, Mr. Slide
All
Job,
right,
the best of luck next week at Martinsville for the Truck Series. I'll definitely be watching. And if you want to watch too, we will be having that post-race interview immediately after that race with Mr. Slide Job. Get Bruce Apocalypse up here again and definitely do that right after the race so he can give you a little bit more in-depth analysis and see what is going on with Mr. Slide Job and his race. Thank you so much, Mr. Slide Job, for being here. Once again, good luck next week. And I can't wait to do the next interview, or can't wait to do the next interview again. I guess it's going to be tomorrow night.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Yeah, definitely keep a lookout for we're running the number 24 Chevy Accessories Silverado this week. So, we've been changing numbers as the series go on. So we'll be running that one.
right.
Qualifying tonight at 8 p.m. So check out for the results for that. I usually post on Twitter how we did and our plan for the race. So check that out. And as always, I appreciate it. It's been really good to sit down with you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Sounds like a plan. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and have a great afternoon.